slow. Gibby's here, it's the place to go. Grab a stab of rock with Mike and the Mad Metal Man. Grab a stab of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Keyboard's here, it's time for a party. And Chris has got the comment started. Grab a stab of rock with Mike and the Mad Metal Man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Grab a stack of rock. Grab a stack of rock.
Hey, it's Mike from Grab a Stack of Rock, and I thought we'd do something a little bit different today. I thought I would just show off my entire Journey collection. I chose Journey for two reasons. One, because I wanted to pay tribute to the man, Tim from Tim's Vinyl Confessions, author of the Y&T album review Down for the Count. He's responsible for me having a couple of these releases. And the second reason I wanted to do my Journey collection is because it's one of the few bands that I have on 6 formats. So CD, cassette, vinyl, 8-track, DVD, and Blu-ray. Wouldn't mind a mini disc, but 6 formats will have to do for now. So why not? Why don't we look into the future and dive into some Journey? Right here, I have their self-titled debut album. I love the Spaceman motif going on there. Now, interestingly enough, this 5-piece lineup, it's not the original lineup. They had a drummer before Ainsley Dunbar called Prairie Prince, but there are no releases with Mr. Prince on them. Now, the key tracks here are, you know what? I'm not 100% sure. If only I had an expert. If only I had an expert. Wait a minute. I do have an expert. Tim!
How long have you been filming?
You don't want to know. These are questions we shouldn't be asking.
Kind of feel like it should.
Well, let's just say that your house was secure last night. That's the most important thing. Your collection was secure.
Good.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining me for this special episode.
We'll just push through that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, this is great, Mike. This is right up my alley. And yeah, I'm always, well, yeah, I feel like talking about Journey. There was a time when didn't feel quite so much, but seems like now's a pretty good time.
Now's kind of a quiet time. They're going to be gearing up for a tour in the summer, but we've already talked about Journey on your channel once. But this is sort of my chance to show off my collection and you to sort of fill me in on the details.
I will do what I can.
1975 CBS debut. This band was assembled by manager Herbie Herbert from the remains of members of Santana. And yeah, there's some great stuff on here. Of a Lifetime is a classic. Cahotek, a lot of instrumental, vocal. Greg Raleigh doing the lead vocals back then. I like it
very well too, I might add.
I think so too.
Very well. I think I got a different version than you have.
I see that.
So this is interesting because the early Journey CDs, you don't see a lot of Canadian issues of them, like very few. So, but in 1998, Sony in Canada took certain albums I noticed, and they put them out on these Sony Music Special Editions. That's what it says down the side here. That's what the back looks like. And this is what the side of it looks like. So it's a different, it's not the impact font like the US CDs. This is a Canadian release. The CD itself is kind of cool because it's got the artwork on it. Yeah, so you've got yourself a US CD there. I have part of that because when I got this version of it, I couldn't pass it up when I saw it I think I saw it at a Records on Wheels, but I couldn't pass it up. It was like $11.99. I already had it, but I kept the booklet from my US one because it had the lyrics in it and, you know, all of that. But I'm a huge fan. I mean, anyone who's seen me go on about this, I'm a huge fan of the early Journey stuff. I think that more people need to check those 3 albums out. I'm always been a little surprised that none of these albums certified because of the massive success that they had and the back catalog sales that they had. I'm really surprised that none of those albums certified, but
Now,
I'd
of
be
course,
curious to know how close some of these were to gold.
well, you know, to recertify an album, I know there's cost involved and you have to apply for that. And
Yeah, but I
maybe
mean,
they just haven't bothered.
I mean, like in real time. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know, during the '80s, once they started to hit really big, like, you know, the previous few albums would elevate by 1 million. Just, you know, it's a shame. It's a shame.
It
They're
is a shame.
undiscovered gems, and they're also. I've said this too. They're Journey albums for people that don't think they like Journey. But if you like prog rock, if you like
Instrumental
Shops-
jamming
Shops
is
for Days,
yeah.
these are your albums. You would be amazed at the musicianship on here.
Yeah. And it should be noted that at that point in the band, they were a 2-guitar band with George Tickner on guitar. He did a lot of the songwriting, but he was gone by album number 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess we've got the same version of this. Now, this is one of the very first. This may be the second CD I ever bought.
Wow.
And I had it in its long box. So this
Yeah,
is a
it looks
US version. We're probably got the exact same versions because it's like not a lot of different issues of these, right?
I like the nice price sticker that's still
Love
on
the nice price sticker. Mine does not have the nice price sticker. Great, lots of credits inside of here. So many
Yeah, beautiful.
credits. And
Looking to the Future is kind of my takeaway track on this one. Longest track that Journey ever recorded.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I do like the fact that the front and back cover are kind of opposites of each other.
You know, I'm not keen on the artwork. To me, it looks chintzy. I don't know the meaning of the blue ghosts and the silver sphere and the endless string of empty rooms. I guess that's looking into the future from Journey's perspective. I'm not keen on it, but hey, it was of its time.
I think that I have such a soft spot for it just because I like the music. Yes, there's no question their artwork got so much better.
Not yet, though.
But it's
Not
about to get worse one more time. Yeah.
Now,
Well,
I will say I have a real serious soft spot for Neil Sean's hair at this point in the game.
oh yeah.
That takes effort.
This is probably the same version too.
Yeah.
What's it
looks
look like on the side? Mine looks different on the side. It's not Impact. Yeah. Yours is the same. It's got this little tiny font.
Now, on this album, we had Spaceman, which is a great track.
Great melodic ballad that kind of paves the way. Now, this part here, when I was on the Contrarians with Martin Popoff, and we talked about albums whose inner sleeves were better than the front cover,
Yeah.
I thought that would have made a better front cover. And I said, you really don't get much of an idea from looking at that front cover what kind of band you're dealing with. I said that could be the Oak Ridge Boys for all we know. They don't
You could
exactly
just
look
stick
like a
band's
rock
logo.
band.
You could stick a Def Leppard logo, a Journey logo. You could stick any number of logos right there.
Yeah.
But
things were about to get.
things were about to change. I know what you're thinking, folks. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yes, Steve Perry. And I'd be like, not quite yet. Not quite yet. Because they did a little detour with Robert Fleischman on lead vocals first,
Heir to the
who later
Butterfly.
turned up in the Vinnie Vincent invasion of all places. So you Vinnie Vincent fans, you can file your Vinnie Vincent albums in the Journey family tree if you choose. But that didn't work out. They did do one song, which we'll talk about later on.
Yeah.
And then Steve Perry came aboard. They wanted a hit. They wanted some radio. And what we got was Infinity.
Now, I can tell right now we've got different.
Yes.
I've got an early U.S. version
I
because
bought this
the title
recently.
is on here. The title is not on yours. I've got the old, the CD information that they would put here.
I bought this
Gorgeous.
recently. This is a recent issue.
Gorgeous album art. I've always wondered what Ross Valerie is sitting on. But what I like about, this was an earlier CD purchase of mine. Like I had these all on cassette, but this is full of this original CD has got all the credits and all the lyrics. And I like the way the lyrics and credits are written inside of here. It's very classy looking. There's a nice dedication. There's a nice dedication to Leonard Skinner in here, because this would have come out after the plane crash.
After the crash,
And
yeah.
And obviously this was, Journey's breakthrough album, but it wasn't like a blockbuster album right at the beginning. It was a very, very slow climb for them.
Yes.
And even though most people today will recognize Wheel in the Sky and Lights, neither of those songs were top 40 singles.
Interesting.
They got a ton of airplay. Herbie Herbert was a genius. He knew how to get, he would buy radio time. He would buy ads that advertised the album, even on stations that didn't play them. So people got these impressions that they knew these songs and were comfortable with them and started buying the album. And eventually it was their first platinum album. And I think today it's sitting at about 3 million.
Interesting.
And it's an interesting bridge album too, because it's the last one with Ainsley Dunbar.
And the first, of course, with their new visual style. And that's stunning.
Oh yeah, Stanley Mouse.
That's a crack, by the way. That's not a line. There's a crack in the cover, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. It's one of my best arguments for owning vinyl. Because it's just breathtaking. Most of these, classic Journey designs, they're t-shirt ready.
And you'll notice the wings motif continued over from the last album as well, from the inner sleeve.
Yeah, it's almost like that inner sleeve of Next was a seed planted.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, I believe we go to this one next.
Nope.
No.
Not
which
quite.
one oh, this one next.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have an infinity loop going around the silver sphere is back. The wings are back. We have an infinity symbol, and now we have a blue tint to the artwork and a new drummer.
And I got a nice price.
Oh, you got a nice price.
This is an early CBS CD, and man, Ross Valerie again with the fashion forward. That blue shine fit, man. That is something.
Now Neil remains committed to his hairstyle, which again I admire. Now this is sort of when I feel the modern Journey began, because Steve Smith is a very different kind of drummer from Ainsley Dunbar and more in the direction that they wanted to go. But there's some brilliant stuff on here that's not really appreciated enough.
There is. I really like Lady Luck. I like Daydream. Daydream is awesome. These songs, we'll get to this later too, Mike. There are some more recent versions of these songs that I just love. You know what I mean? Love Me.
Yeah, I have that.
City of Angels, City of the Angels. It's spelled City of Angels on the disc itself. So yeah, When You're Alone It Ain't Easy. One of my favorite guitar intros, Majestic. Love that. So obviously this was a successful album, kind of right out of the gates. Contained the band's very first top 40 single. Most people would have thought that their first top 40 singles would have been Wheel in the Sky and Lights, but no. Love and Touch and Squeeze, and Steve Perry wrote this song based on a true story, folks. Based on a true story. Got all the way to 16, I believe, and got people buying the records in greater quantities. So we're getting to what Mike held up earlier. Now that they've got two semi-successful albums under their belt, Columbia wisely thought, well, why don't we try and remarket that earlier material and put it out? And so they did as a double album called In the Beginning in some say early 1980. It has a copyright of 79 on it. So it must have come out, very, very early 1980. And it's one of the rarest CDs I have.
Wow.
Only released on CD in Europe, near as I can tell, because I didn't even know this existed until the advent of Discogs. And this is a pretty good overview of, you can tell it looks way, way different, right? This is a pretty good overview of the first three albums. Now, it leans pretty heavy on the first album, which I don't have a problem with that. I think it picks the songs really, really well. Now, what's inside of this is not, well, it's got the songwriting, it's got the songs and the songwriting credits, but it's also got this nice price. Now, it's got all of these different titles listed, these different CBS titles. But yeah, this was, we did the episode on my channel of this should be on CD. This would have been one of my, I thought that should be on CD, and then come to find out it is. So it's worth checking, folks. It's worth checking to see if maybe just because it didn't come out on CD in North America, maybe it did somewhere in the world.
And you insisted that my Journey collection, even though I had all these songs, was not complete without In the Beginning.
Well, there's very
I
good
get
reason
it.
for
I
that,
get it.
Mike. It wasn't complete. You know,
It's an
you still
official
need to get the
release.
CD, by the way.
It's an official release. It's part of the discography, and really, the artwork connects it to.
And yes,
the
please
era.
take note of the fact that they were smart. It looks like Infinity and Evolution, and again, at that point, that I'm really surprised if nothing else that didn't certify. It's just a weird thing. Obviously, they were promoting the new albums, but I don't know. I'm sure Herbie was trying because I mean Herbie was always a supporter of the band, and the band didn't necessarily want change. But
No.
they got it. But anyway.
One other interesting fact is that this was sent to me against my will by Mr. Durling as a surprise. And I thank him because I played it, I reviewed it. It sounds great. And I agree with him that it's a decent overview of those first 3 albums. And it's a good listen. They sequenced it. A lot of these tracks are in album order, but they sequenced it for listening.
Yeah, it is well sequenced. I agree. It's and sadly, it's still easier to find the individual discs than it is to find that comp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, are we going? Which is next? Is it Departure or is it Dream After?
Yes,
not Dream After Dream. Okay, so
first.
I have a couple copies of Departure. The first comes in this weird little box set, which is nice because it has bonus tracks, but is not nice because there's a live album that goes between these and some other things. But there's the Departure that comes inside. Oh, yours is nice.
This is the only one I have of the 96 remasters. I had the original US CD, but I don't know, just ended up getting this version. So it's got a hype sticker on it. This is just the US version. Again, stunning artwork. And the band agreed this artwork was so stunning, they basically used it again. They just tilted it a little bit, if you know what I mean, and changed the color. So yeah, very different look on the CD, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's an interesting old timey kind of really old yearbook look for them.
Yes, like Neil Sean, that looks like a wanted poster that you'd see in the Old West. Wanted for high treason or whatever.
Yeah,
I have it on 8-track.
So here we go. No lyrics inside this, but there weren't lyrics inside the record either. I really like this album.
Me too.
We won't get into my 8 tracks. Basically, I have them all. I have all the 8 tracks that exist by Journey. I really like this album. It sounds funny to say, Mike, but would you say this album's a little bit more raw for them?
I would have to give it another listen. After a while, they all tend to blur together in my mind because I didn't grow up with these albums the way you did. I acquired them in the 90s and 2000s in sporadic order.
Well, I acquired them all in 89, so I wasn't listening to them in real time. But if you listen, well, first of all, Infinity and Evolution were both produced by Roy Thomas Baker. They have great songs on there. The production's a little bit thick on the drums, a little bit of that. This isn't so much so. And all anyone has to do is think about how Any Way You Want It sounds. You listen to that Greatest Hits album, Any Way You Want It stands out to me. It's raw sounding. It sounds like a one take. It was produced by Jeff Workman and Kevin Elson. Jeff Workman was actually an engineer for Roy Thomas Baker, and Kevin Elson, of course, went on to be their main guy for many years. But I really like the sound on this. This has got some rockers on it. Where Were You?
Yeah.
Fire, Homemade Love. I like People and Places because it's got Neil singing, it's got Greg singing, and it's got Steve Perry singing. Precious Time is great. I love this album. This is a wonderful, wonderful album. So Any Way You Want It was the best known song up here. It wasn't a big hit. Number 23. It's one of those songs whose chart position doesn't indicate how popular a song it would become. Walks Like a Lady was another top 40 single. I think it hit number 32. That's more of a bluesy one. And if I'm not mistaken, Good Morning Girl was also released as a single, and I think it only hit like number 55.
Well, Any Way You Want It is one of the few songs that's been featured on The Simpsons twice. So there's that. And anytime I've done karaoke, that song's there. That song's available. And I tried to sing it, and it is
Good
hard
luck.
to sing.
Yeah.
This CD version has 2 bonus tracks, Natural Thing and Little Girl.
Yeah. Little Girl.
Yes.
We're talking about whence that came too. So this was, this is fun. This was the big mystery for me in 1990 when I found a cassette of Dream After Dream. I had no idea what it was. I wasn't 100% sure it was the same Journey.
Right.
Never heard of it. Never seen it listed in the discography. Didn't know any of the song titles. And I bought it because I was like, I have to know. I have to know what this is all about. I think we got the same version of this, Mike.
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah, this is a Japanese version. So I had it on cassette many years. Didn't know what it was all about. Yeah, we got the same version.
Mm-hmm.
Nice artwork. A little bit different looking. So that was just different enough for me to wonder, like, what is this? These are some scenes from what I always get mixed up. I always say it was a Japanese animated movie. It's clearly not.
No.
But I have no idea. I like this picture's kind of cool. And this would probably have been one of the last band shots with Greg Raleigh.
Yep. Spoiler alert.
To me, this album answers a hypothetical question. And that hypothetical question is, what would Journey have sounded like if they had Steve Perry in the band and yet they were still making music like their first 3 albums? This is about as close as you're going to get to that. Obviously when I put this on, the first track, Destiny, has this lengthy intro. Doesn't sound very rock at all, but eventually you hear Steve Perry. It's like, okay, this is Journey. I love that song.
It's a great song.
I think that song could have been a centerpiece of a live show. Like it is. It's prog. It's full on prog. It's got horns. It's got orchestration by Neil's father, Matthew Shawn. It was very, very special, I think, for him to have his dad working on it with him. There's only 3 songs on this with vocals. The other one's called Sand Castles, which is really, really different. Very dreamy sounding, no pun intended. But the last song, Little Girl, is a fairly typical Journey power ballad. And if there's one song in this album that people know, it's that one. It was a B-side, and it's featured on a few compilations. But big mystery on this album, as big a band as they were, I remember thinking, how have I never heard this? And another thing I used to wonder about was if there was a studio version of the song Dixie Highway. Well, it would have been on here, but as I can tell, there is not. So yeah, this is a curiosity, and it wasn't until the early 90s that I found out the story behind it. It's never been released domestically, except in originally it was available through the Journey fan club.
Oh.
And in 1983, I don't think it came out in Canada, but in 1983, Columbia put it out on vinyl and cassette, which is how I came upon my copy of it. Not easy to find. I've never seen it in the wild. The one time I saw it in the wild, it was at a store, and it had probably been there for years, and I bought it. Other than that, you never, ever see this one. So,
well, Tim, I did see it in my time working retail at the record store. That
is so crazy that somebody would actually get rid of that too.
And I didn't buy it because I was not yet. I need to collect all the Journey. I was at that point in my life where I was like, I have the box set, I have the greatest hits, and I have Trial by Fire. That's enough Journey for me. And of course, later on, we change our minds.
At least you rectified the problem.
We rectified the problem, and it wasn't expensive on Amazon. And it had that weird, funky sticker about how don't suffocate on shrink wrap.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. I've never seen that ever anywhere else. Where are we headed next? Are we
next one is special for me because it's the first Journey album I ever owned. It was the first cassette I ever got from them. 1981 captured the first Journey live album. This is an original. I think Mike's got a remastered version. This is just an original US CD, although it's pretty similar looking.
Silver ball motif again.
Yeah, I really like this album, and again, I mentioned I had a little bit of some quibbles with the production on Infinity and Evolution. I like the versions of all those songs on here, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. Oh, the disc looks really cool. This was Greg Raleigh's farewell.
Yes,
I think by the time this album came out, he was gone.
he was
Nice
gone
collage
before they.
pictures.
He was gone before they even had a chance to record the one and only studio track. The Party's
Right.
Over.
Great song, great song. Dented the top 40. As far as I know,
It's my actual favorite Journey song from the classic era.
Yeah,
Is Party's Over.
It's catchy. I like the little dedication to Bon Scott here.
Yeah, unexpected.
Well, the AC/DC opened for Journey in '79, and inside the box set, Neil Schon said that "Where Were You," which is a rocker, was written after doing a bunch of tour dates with AC/DC, because Neil says you can't help being influenced by a band like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really like the Captured album. I listen to that one a lot. It was an early introduction for a lot of those. It's really heavy on Infinity, Evolution, and Departure. But I will say this: if you go on YouTube, you will find more songs that they were doing in concert that could have made up a super deluxe version of this. They do "Lovin' You Is Easy," but most of all, they were still doing "Of a Lifetime" and Cahotek.
Yeah.
And again, if those songs had appeared on this live album, it might have shed some light on those early albums. I wonder if the new guy had a problem with that. I don't know, but I think it was a missed opportunity. And I still, there's an expanded version. Even though it's a pretty long live album, I still think there's an expanded version, because it's really, I mean, it's all Infinity, Evolution, and Departure. That's what it is. So, yeah.
I really like this album. A lot of the tracks from this album ended up being the versions that were used on an upcoming box set that we'll get to. Hopelessly in Love, my favorite song. And yeah, this is just a great double album. I love how it says 2 records set on 1 compact disc, just like the olden days.
Yeah, that's interesting that they kept that on there.
And these 90s Journey remasters looked good as well.
Yeah. And not surprisingly, they came out in '96, which is when, something big happened.
Right.
So yeah, this was among some of the first CDs I bought, was of course this little album here. Escape. I always like
the 80s, the 80s technique of using numbers as letters.
Yeah, that was another Herbie Herbert innovation, and he said people will know it, and they recognized it. It flew off the shelves.
Yeah.
I can't remember without checking. I don't think this is a Diamond album yet, but it's close.
I was looking earlier, and it's I don't think it is.
I think it's a 9 million seller. So yeah, this is an original one. Although the CD is a little bit different, Mike, because if you look at it, the way that Columbia is written on there is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's got lines.
So it doesn't have like the I logo. And because this was an early album that I had on vinyl, I already knew what everything looked like inside of it. So this does a good job of reprinting that. And the way that the guys are running here, I always wondered if that wasn't what Atari or Data Age used to model the sprites of the members of Journey in the Journey Escape video game, because they're always running. I always wondered if that wasn't a reference to this.
I bet you it is.
Because that game came out, such was Journey's popularity after this album, that they were the very first band to have a video game made about them. And it uses this cover, and the scarab beetle is like their, the symbol. It says, wait, there it is. Yeah, it says Journey, like top to bottom. And this is the album. This was in record collections everywhere. It had 4 top 40 singles. Now, most people can name 3 of them. Mm-hmm. But do you know what the 4th one was?
Well, let me have a quick look here. Okay, so we have Don't Stop Believin'. We have Open Arms. I'm going to say Who's Crying Now? And I would have to guess on the fourth single. I'm going to say Still They Ride.
Yep. So here's how it did. And this was an era where bands typically didn't have that many hit singles from one album. So
Right.
as popular as it is now, Don't Stop Believin' only peaked at number 9. It wasn't, it had a second life much later.
We'll get
Who's
to
Crying
that.
Now was the first single released from the album. It got to number 4. Open Arms got all the way to number 2. And Still They Ride crept in at number 19. So,
Not bad.
but in the
Respectable.
album tracks on here, Stone in Love is one of my favorite Journey songs. I Keep on Running, Dead or Alive, Lay It Down. It's got some rockers on it. The title song is great. Mother Father's just such a dramatic piece. I probably named the whole album now, but yeah, there's a reason it sold so many. It's practically a greatest hits unto itself. But I mean, the thing is, it's not my favorite.
Now my version has 4 bonus tracks, including the great B-side, La Raza del Sol.
Yeah, very Latin influence.
Very much back to that Santana vibe. And then there's 3 live songs: Don't Stop Believin', Who's Crying Now, and Open Arms. And I think those come from an Escape live album that we'll get to.
I think I have the source from whence that came. But yeah, La Raza del Sol was cool. I like the fact that they did a few B-sides. They didn't do many, but they did a few.
Yeah. And when they did them, they counted.
Oh, yeah. They weren't throwaways. Next up is my personal favorite Journey album.
Great album.
Frontiers. This one's weird. I found this used in a local pawn shop, but somehow I ended up with a UK version.
Huh.
So they're going with the whole skydiving thing for some reason. So the disc looks very different because it's a UK. Band photos on the back. Still the classic lineup. Yeah, this has always been my favorite Journey album.
It's great.
It's so it's got lyrics in it. A little different look on the printing. It's actually got the only credits are like the bottom of the sleeve here,
right? Which
is just a straight up reprint of the record sleeve. So this is a weird one because I've never ever had just the regular US CD of it, because most of mine were. But this is just the one I came across, and it doesn't skip, so I never saw the point of replacing it. I know you've got a much more modern version.
Yes, I will show the reissue when we get to the present day, but this version has 4 bonus tracks as well. Yeah. Only the Young, Ask the Lonely, Liberty, and Only Solutions from the Tron soundtrack.
Yep.
Now, those tracks, you can all get them on the Journey Time 3 box set, which we'll get to, but it's also nice to have them on the actual album.
Ask the Lonely is one of their best tracks ever.
Absolutely. And that's this little box set, which you can't go wrong with all of that bonus material.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Now, there's another box set that they put out too, Mike. It looks very much like that just has the first 3 albums on it.
Yes.
Before I found In the Beginning on CD, I counted that as my In the Beginning on CD. I've since gifted it to a buddy of mine.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So now we have some more change afoot.
Yeah.
As Mr. Perry goes solo for a little bit with Street Talk and Oh Sherry. And then he came back a changed man. He was in charge. He was El Capitano. And that's what happened here.
This album was supposed to be called Freedom, continuing their trend of one-word album titles, but it came out as Raised on Radio, which is still a cool cover.
You know, we should have also mentioned the last album dropped the scarab look for the album cover. And we continue with a non-scarab, very different kind of album cover for Journey.
This is another one that I actually found used, and it was one of the last ones I needed to complete the collection. Now, this album had another 4 top 40 singles. Only one of them was top 10. That would be good to yourself. Great rocker. This one's the booklet in this is really faded. Yeah, that's a cool looking CD. I've never seen that before. Now, here's something else that we've talked about this before. I don't like this. I don't like this bit. Three members does not a Journey make. Where's your rhythm section, guys? The rhythm section's all splintered on this. I don't think Ross Valerie's on any of these songs.
I think you're right.
Smith, I think, is on 3 songs on here.
They had studio cats.
Yeah, Larry London is on most of the drums. Bob Glob is on bass.
And they brought Randy
it
Jackson
was
out on tour.
Randy Jackson, of course, yes, and yeah, it's a Martin Popoff would call this a compromised lineup.
Very much so.
You know, yeah, it's Journey, but
And then
but
things
it's, a good
kind
album. It's still a good album.
Yes,
it's still a good album. I don't like it as much as Frontiers. Love Suzanne. That is an amazing song. Top 20 single. Probably could have benefited from a video. See, they were like an anti-video band, which I can see why, because they made some of the worst videos ever. They only ever did like live clips off of this, and but you know, that's fine. Trying to remember what. Oh, yeah, it's very much like this. Very much could have only come on the heels of Street Talk, because it's very R&B. This stuff like Happy to Give, The Eyes of a Woman. It's got some good stuff on it. It just doesn't have. It's just not quite as.
It's not as rock. It's not as rock. There's not as much guitar. The guitar is used more sparingly. It's not as much riffage. But having said that, I think my favorite song on here is "I'll Be All Right Without You," which has a great little R&B groove.
It is. I love the groove on it.
Yeah. And that kind of ended things for a bit.
Yeah, they went on tour for that album, and you know, Steve Perry decided that was it, and you know, and the way that Jonathan Cain put it, Neil and I did not want to, you know, leave this shiny Corvette in the garage, but we knew who had the keys.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was a 10-year hiatus. You know, the band members individually would go on to do various things.
Bad English, Hardline, Vital Information. There was another Storm.
Yeah, working with Michael Bolton.
Yes.
Yeah. So eventually another Steve Perry solo album, but Herbie Herbert, being the astute manager he was, always kept his eye on the ball. And in late 1988, this thing suddenly seemed to appear out of nowhere, Mike, because I remember I saw this in my local Sam's either in late 88 or early 89. At the time, I think I had captured Evolution and Departure, because I found those was given to me, and the other two I found quite cheap. But I remember looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, there's never been a Journey Greatest Hits before.
Not really.
And so I bought the cassette and I wore it out. I mean, I wore it out. And at that point, that's when I became a huge Journey fan. Now, this CD that I got like 5 years later is a Columbia House, Canadian Columbia House. It's got the CBS box design, which I dedicated an episode to because I'm fascinated by this crappy looking design that's so bad I like it now. I've never, as many times as this has been reissued, Mike, I've never seen the need to replace my good old faithful CD. This is what the CD itself looked like, which is kind of cool, and it had that on it. I like how it showed all the lineups, who was on what songs, and this would go on to become. This is another reason I didn't know they had 3 albums before Infinity. This continues to sell to this very day. It's a diamond certified album. I don't think it'll ever go out of print. So it's made these songs like evergreen songs. And for me, it was really useful at the time, because I remember Only the Young being on radio. Only the Young was left off of Frontiers. They stuck it on the Vision Quest soundtrack. It was still a pretty big hit in 1985. This is good to have it. It's the first time I ever heard Ask the Lonely, and that song just love it so much. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I got to start. This is when I started to go, okay, I need the rest of this band's catalog. And that became a fun quest, because, a
vision quest.
You might almost say. Yeah.
I have this funky early 2000s reissue, which includes a bonus track from a reunion album that we'll get to. Not very lavish in packaging. I sold my original Greatest Hits, which was actually a remastered one from the 90s. which had a better booklet than this has no booklet. This has nothing, but it has. I don't know. I
That's
probably
an
shouldn't have.
friendly version or something.
It's an it's a neat package, but I probably should have.
I like the picture on the back cover. It's from the box set. I like that picture though.
Yeah,
that's a cool picture.
Speaking of which, I think that's the next thing that happened.
So, but before we do that, I want to show something that I've talked about before. I found this in a pawn shop. Was not supposed to be charged money for it, but I was.
Yeah.
A test of Time Cubed, limited edition sampler. This is a US. It's a 10-song sampler of what was then the upcoming Journey box set. This was the era of the box set. This is also when Columbia was doing this with their CDs.
Yes.
And so yeah, 92, they finally put out a box set. We've probably got the same version in the big box here. I actually got this at a Columbia House. I found this very useful at the time, Mike.
I still do. There's still lots of stuff on here that you can't get anywhere else.
There's probably an old school album's worth of unreleased stuff on it.
Yeah.
There's a Y&T reference in there. Have you ever seen it?
Sorry, what?
Can you spot the Y&T reference in here?
Oh, no. You
will.
I'll have to go through the whole booklet. Now, Tim, can you name the other box set that came out?
Check this out.
Oh, there it is. Yesterday and today we're opening.
Yeah.
Can you name the other box set put out by the exact same label, the exact same year, that has the exact same format, meaning packaging, everything about that box set is identical to this box set?
No.
Pandora's Box by Aerosmith.
Did not come out the same year.
92? 91. It came out in 91. I got it in 92.
You threw me off, Mike. Threw me off. You give me the wrong information.
The same plastic tray, the same 3 CDs in the jewel cases, the same booklet, the really tall booklet, the same box dimensions.
Great.
Incidentally, cover. You can get both of them in smaller box sets now, but this is still the version
to me, it doesn't look like a box. If it's a box set, it should come in a box.
Yes.
No, this was really cool. I mean, there are a few things, like, for example, we talk about Only Solutions from Tron. There's another Journey track on that soundtrack. It's an instrumental called 1990s Theme, and I really wish they'd have put that on.
Are you serious? Yeah. So I need to get a Tron soundtrack CD.
Of some sort, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yep. I will. That is well noted.
1990s Theme.
Now, to me, Tim, for me, the real treasure on this box set, once you wade through the entire journey, pun intended, of listening to the 3 CDs, at the very end, you get to Into Your Arms and With a Tear. Two instrumental tracks.
I love Into Your Arms, and I can almost hear where Neil Sean's guitar line is basically what he would hear Steve Perry singing over that. It's great. There's a great song in there. And we hinted at this before. Track 6 on the first disc is called For You. This is a completely produced album track that never made an album.
Yeah,
featuring Robert Fleischman on vocals, and it's a cool song. It's a really cool song, and obviously, fate would take a different turn for Journey, but makes you wonder. And there are other songs floating around out there. I used to have it on a DVD. I found it somewhere online. A really brief live performance of them from '77 with Fleischman on vocals, and it started off with Of a Lifetime. So he would come on like after 3 songs. He would come on for the 3rd song, and it was really, really good. But I have seen clips of other songs. Like, I don't know that song, so they must have done some writing. And Robert Fleischman actually figures in on like Winds of March, Wheel in the Sky, which probably that's not a bad. If he owns his publishing, that's not a bad little thing to have in your back pocket, because, he never really made it that big.
Right.
He was close to,
Vinnie Vincent Invasion was the peak.
Which those albums didn't certify.
No.
And to me, they're entirely unlistenable.
Yep. I have done that show with Peter Kerr on Rock Daydream Nation.
It's a good one. Check it out. Shout out.
Speaking of unlistenable, what's the name of the song that has John Cain singing
All
lead?
That Really Matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan Cain is one of those guys that's better suited to background vocals.
I agree.
His voice is good in doses. I like the live version of I'll Be All Right Without You when he sings You Don't Need. in the second.
Right.
That's
Yes,
cool.
that's
But for
excellent.
a whole song, no, it's just very bland, generic sounding 80s rock. There's
And we'll hear
probably a
more
good
about
song in
this
there,
John
but
Cain lead vocal thing. We'll be hearing more about that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Liberty's a great song. Liberty's a fantastic song.
Yeah.
Fantastic acoustic song. I'm glad they put Natural Thing on here. That sounds like it came from the Departure sessions to me. But yeah, it's good. It's really good. And it does honor, the early stuff too. So that's
Yes.
the first time that, a modern era Journey release featured anything to do with the first 3 albums, which
And an unreleased track, Cookie Duster, from
yes,
didn't make it onto the 3rd album, I think.
and I do want to mention Little Girl from Dream After Dream is on here, and this is when I found out what that album was all about. I didn't know until
Right.
this is when I found out. Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's cool though. I love the fact that a band as big as Journey has this one little mystery album.
Yeah, still
It's
to
like
this
an
day.
album that you got to be in the know to know.
They haven't done an RSD re-release on colored vinyl or anything
It's
like
never
that.
been part of any reissue series, even though Steve Perry's on it. It's really, really interesting. It's a little bit like Kiss Killers. It's never had a domestic CD release.
Yeah.
But
yeah, 100%.
So it was a happy day for me. And I can't remember exactly where I read it, but when the classic Journey lineup was getting back together.
With my favorite studio album by Journey.
I bet you we have this.
Mine's Japanese.
Oh, then we don't.
Mine has the Japanese bonus track.
Mine is a Canadian version. Although it was pointed out, I think this was on Sea of Tranquility. Look at the band shot there. 4 of the guys are staring one way, Perry's staring the other. If that wasn't symbolic of something, I don't know what was.
They look miserable. They don't look happy to be together.
No. There's the CD itself, which is kind of neat. This little thing came with it, advertising the partial catalog, which is weird, including Street Talk, which is interesting.
Contractual stuff going on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If this happens, this has to happen. But you would think that. Okay, hold on. Let's fold this thing out here. As usual, we've got some great artwork. Now, I don't really understand the artwork, but it looks cool. I
believe the artwork was done by I can't remember. We have Kevin Shirley on production for the first time though. Yeah, I know.
Still, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This artwork style carried over onto a live album.
Yeah. So I know you love this album.
I do.
And so I was excited about this album, but I listened to it a lot, Mike, and it's not bad. I would never call it my favorite. To me, I really, really love about half of it, and the rest of it is just never caught on. I wish there were a few more rockers on here. Oh, I'm way behind the times. Hold on. Yeah, so then Steve Perry leaves. They get Steve O'Jerry, and then Sony puts this out as a contractual thing. I think I got this out. I got this from Columbia House. Again, continuing the artwork. This is all stuff from 81 and 83. So there was, this is one of those things where they made such a big deal over baking the tapes. And
this album really came and went. It Trial by Fire didn't sell like we'd hoped.
Trial by Fire went single platinum, which given the time was pretty impressive, especially the fact that they didn't tour to support it.
Yeah, but I think it had a relatively short stay on the shelves of the record store. This came out, confused a lot of people. They thought it was new live stuff with Steve Perry, not archival releases. Again, I like it, but we don't need to get into track for track.
Yeah.
Steve O'Jerry, as you said, was now stepping in, and I personally encountered people in my life who didn't know the difference between Steve O'Jerry and Steve Perry.
Don't look anything alike.
Nothing alike, but people went to the show and said, wow, Steve Perry was sounding great last night. And I was like, you didn't see Steve Perry? Yes, I did. It's like, I realized the two names sound similar.
There's no point in arguing with.
Right.
I've done that my whole friggin' life. And it's like, when's the last time you saw Steve Perry with curly hair?
Right. No, never.
And I'm sorry, sound that much alike. They sounded enough alike. so
Yeah.
that he could sing the old material.
If
And
you'd
of
only
course,
heard Journey on the radio.
I should have gotten it out because I have the CD. But the first appearance is a fantastic song called "Remember Me."
Yes, I didn't get my Armageddon soundtrack out. I didn't get it out.
Great song, co-written by Jack Blades and Neil Sean.
Yep.
To me, it's got the Ask the Lonely vibe, and maybe that's why I love it so much.
It has an 80s classic Journey vibe.
Great
It's
song.
got that punch, got that power, got the memorable hooks, great guitar work. My Armageddon soundtrack is right there, so we'll just pretend that we're showing it off.
Yeah.
I think more interestingly, though, is the Japanese version of the actual album that they did, which came out the year prior.
Yeah, and the thing is, you did an episode. It was one of the first ones I think I was on, Mike, and you were surprised I didn't mention this episode. This album is one of my favorites from 2000. That's because I think of this as a 2001 album.
Right.
But it did come out in 2000, and yes, as people can see, there were two different cover arts.
There's the new lead singer who looks.
I was always amused by the red leather pants. Mike Reno called. He wants his stage pants back, but
and we also have a change on the drum stool too. We have Dean Castronovo.
Yeah.
Who would become a huge part of the band.
Oh, what a valuable guy that he was. Not just in the kit, he's a fantastic drummer. He also just happens to be armed with one heck of a set of pipes that can capably. He could have stepped out there on his own.
Yeah, he could have been the lead singer if he wasn't the drummer.
But I think that we were better off for it because he became like the relief guy.
Yeah, for a lot of those songs, yeah. Now, people know that I don't generally like to own multiple copies of the same album, but you have to in this case because there are different tracks on different versions. The Japanese version has a great ballad called I'm Not That Way, and it has a longer version of To Be Alive Again compared to that. But this has a song not on this one, which I can't remember. They followed that with what was initially a mail order only EP called Red.
Yeah, this just seemed to come out of nowhere. It had two different cover arts.
Yes.
Mine's got a hype sticker on it.
Mine came from the very early orders from ordering directly from the band.
Yeah.
But there's another version with sort of like a basketball jersey looking logo on it.
Yeah.
And a really bad group photo. And John Cain's like, hey, check out my buddy Neil here. And it's like, that is the least believable buddy companionship pair that I've ever seen in my life. Nothing particularly memorable on this for me.
No, not really. I mean, I don't mind it. And you're probably the same way. I forget about it. I forget it exists.
I never listen to it, and when I do, I can't remember the songs.
Now,
10
here's
minutes
something
later.
very, very strange, and this is something you don't see all that often. Or you don't hear about all that often. Did you know that when the band was auditioning singers, that there was a fairly high-profile singer from a successful band that auditioned and actually co-wrote a few songs with the band?
I probably do.
It would have been a weird fit.
Sammy Hagar.
No.
Who?
Jeff Tate.
Oh, shit. He wrote? Oh, that's right. He did that.
An early version of the song Walking Away from the Edge, because he's mentioned that song title. It would have been a very dark sounding journey. I mean, I love Jeff Tate, but it's just weird. It's like, you're just going to leave Queens? Like there's some, I have heard that Rick Emmett was considered for Journey and Boston.
Wow. That would have been cool.
And Styx.
Yeah, I knew about Styx, yes.
And did you know Damn Yankees?
That I knew, yes.
Yeah.
Mike Levine, also Damn Yankees, both of them.
I didn't know that. But
yeah.
But Jeff Tate fronting Journey, that would have been, I don't know.
I know this came up prior on the LeBrain train back in the day when we had Andy Curran on and all these other guys, but definitely Mike Levine was asked to join Damn Yankees, and I got Meat Magazine evidence of that as well in an interview. Yeah. Now
it's interesting because he doesn't sing.
No, he was just going to be a bass player and songwriter, I guess.
Wow.
But as far as Journey go, the lineup remained intact for two albums.
But it should be noted, and I've actually got these out of order. That's on me. I have found it very, very interesting, Mike. And I think we talked about this on one of my episodes. I think we did a Journey-centric episode. Every time that the new Journey would do something, Steve Perry would counter or put something out on his own. So 1998, they get a Jerry, and they've got the song on the Armageddon soundtrack. What happens? A new version of the Greatest Hits is reissued. Steve Perry Greatest Hits +5 Unreleased comes out. 2001, they put out Arrival, which is their last album for Columbia. A little later that year, this comes out, The Essential Journey. Now, The Essential was a Sony series. This is this is basically the best of from Infinity through Trial by Fire. And I bought this at Walmart just years later. I didn't buy it when it first came out, but I was, sometimes you just want something to buy, and this was there, so I bought it, and I'm glad because now there's hardly any CDs there. So yeah, a good compilation. It'll never replace that Greatest Hits for me. Those 15 songs are perfectly sequenced, and
there's even a Greatest Hits 2 that I never bothered with.
We'll get to that.
Oh, you have it? Okay.
Yeah. I had to. So in 2005, a new Journey album, which got a lot of flack, but I actually like quite a few of the songs on it.
I do not. I'm the flack.
Can't really help that.
They had all 5 guys singing lead vocals for the first time ever, and I think it was misguided. I don't think we needed a John Cain lead vocal. I don't think we needed a Ross Valerie lead vocal.
Didn't need a Ross Valerie lead vocal.
Giving Dean and maybe Neil one lead vocal would have been fine, but this is a neat jewel case, though, Tim. Check this out.
This original version I have on Sanctuary. Also, it's an enhanced CD.
Okay.
Which has a little bit of making of the album. Now, let me tell you, folks out there, don't listen to Mike. What I do like on this album, I think Faith in the Heartland's great opener. Place in Your Heart is good. Maybe sounds a little bit too much like Remember Me. I absolutely love A Better Life. That's one of Dean's songs. That's a good mid-tempo one. Oh, I love that song. It's got a nice little finger-pick riff from Neil Schon. I love the sentiment behind it, the lyrics. It could be my favorite on the album. Every Generation I don't like at all. That's the one John Cain songs. And he's got another bonus track, which I don't like either, Pride of the Family. I don't even like the title. Butterfly, She Flies, boring.
No.
Believe, boring. Knowing That You Love Me, boring. Out of Harm's Way, I love. Absolutely. That's another Dean song. To me, that's got the drums in that song almost give me like an Achilles' Last Stand feel. Yeah. Like it's a really, really powerful rocker. And Self-Defense is very clever. That's a song from one of the Neil Schon, Jan Hammer albums. I think it was just called Self-Defense. It was co-written by Steve Perry. So they put out an album out in 2005 that is a Steve Perry co-write. Smart. Better Together and Gone Crazy, awful. Really, really lame. Ross Valerie song like, Poor Man's ZZ Top. Beyond the Clouds, boring. But the bonus track is one of the best on here, Never Too Late. That's another Dean song.
Never Too Late, yes, bonus track. And this one here has a different bonus track, although maybe it's Better Together. I'm not sure.
No, that's on here.
This one has 14 tracks.
Does it have Pride of the Family?
It's got Pride of the Family, Knowing That You Love Me, Out of Harm's Way, Gone Crazy, Better Life, Every Generation, Butterfly, The Place in Your Heart. I can't tell where.
Wow, different track listing too.
Oh, I'm reading them out of order.
Oh,
Out of Harm's Way. Anyway, I needed 2 versions again to get all the tracks.
Pride of the Family is just not a good song.
Check this out, though. Check out the difference in the jewel cases.
Okay, yeah.
The Japanese version is much thicker. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's it has a thicker booklet. It has a really large booklet. We'll get that out.
It's always been a strong market for them too.
Sticker, 2 booklets, all kinds of cool stuff. But the end of the road for Mr. Steve Augeri, who encountered vocal problems. And as Herbie Herbert has said himself, you can't sing lead vocals like that for your entire life. It eventually does your voice in.
Yeah, and their tour schedule was not They're just doing too many shows. They're too many shows. They burned the guy out.
Yeah, and
but
that's when we encountered Jeff Scott Soto.
Like we were saying, how Steve Perry would counteract with things. 2005 also saw the release of this.
Oh yeah, sorry, we have to get to that.
Which
mine's
live
different.
in Houston, 1981, the Escape Tour. This was originally broadcast on MTV. And MTV hadn't been on the air that long. This is a great show. I never listened to it, but I just never listened to it. I found this in a bin at Walmart for $5. It's on vinyl. Not all these ones are on vinyl, but
is yours a dedicated CD version?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's just CD for CUS version.
I didn't know that existed. I thought it was only in this CD.
Well, I don't think I did either. So that's why I was a little. When I saw it, it was like, oh, okay. Wait a minute. Do I have that? I might have that. No, I don't. No, the DVDs I have from Journey, I've got the Greatest Hits one. I've got the 2001 from Las Vegas, which is a pretty good concert. And then I've got the Live in Manila.
Here's a rare thing, is that usually these things have bonus tracks on the DVD, but this one has bonus tracks on the CD only. Party's Over, Hopelessly in Love, which of course was uncaptured. But
that's on here.
There you go. Interestingly enough, though, this also has, I believe, the bonus tracks that we looked at earlier from that box set, those live bonus tracks from the Escape CD. And that's when Mr. Jeff Scott Soto stepped in. John T. Snow, don't think he's a particular fan of this release. This is a fairly common bootleg. Decent show. They dropped all the new material from the set list if they were playing any at all in any way. And it's all just classics. That's all it is. And Mr. Soto did not last. They wanted somebody who sounded...
I've got opinions. Oh, I've got opinions.
I like Jeff Scott Soto, but they made the right move.
I am so glad that did continue. And that is nothing against Jeff Scott Soto. But he was the wrong fit. They needed somebody to finish those tour dates.
Yes.
They were on tour, I think, with Def Leppard. Steve Augeri just could not do it. So Neil, they did Soul Circus together. I get it. But I remember listening to some of them. I said, it sounds like a cover band. It's not good. Not good.
Unfortunately.
They wrote one new song, which wasn't that great. But so it was a happy day for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been this happy to go into a Walmart. This was a fun time to be a Journey fan, man.
Now mine looks different from yours. Mine's a Mexican import with a bonus track.
Yeah, I don't have. Is it Let It Take You Back?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good song. Not on here. This is the version. This is the version that went platinum. And I was so excited. I think this hit number 5 on Billboard, and there was such a vibe, such a good vibe. They got Arnel Pineda. He's got hair at this point. I think they did a decent new album. I really do.
They did.
There's an album of re-records, which I understand why they did that.
That was a Walmart thing. Kiss did the same thing on Sonic Boom.
And I'm telling you right now, this made for a great impulse buy. This was everywhere. It was on the end caps. It was at the cash registers. People would look at that and say, well, I don't know any of these songs. Then they go to Disc 2. I know that song, that song, that song. And it was decently priced. I think so it's 2 CDs and then a live DVD.
Yep.
And it was like $11.88 or $12.88. It was very, very, very smartly priced. And that's why it did so well. Now, it's a multi-disc set. That's how come it was certified platinum. But no matter how you slice it, Mike, in 2008, Journey had a gold selling record. So, man, I was so on board with this. I was so happy that they got Arnel. I thought he was just great.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind this, too.
This has a lot of songs that I really liked on it. I've never been really sure why they redid Faith in the Heartland on the album proper. Now, did you know that the first track on here, you probably know this, Never Walk Away, there's a guy that co-wrote this that was almost in the band.
Well, I guess I'm just going to have to take a look.
Oh, you don't know? Oh.
Well, I didn't look at Hunsicker?
Jeremy Hunsicker. Yes, he was a singer from a Journey cover band.
Oh.
And he was in talks to be their singer.
I didn't know.
What happened there, I do not know, but he got himself a songwriting credit.
Huh. Now, this is one of the only Journey albums that I still need an import version of. There is I think, Japanese import that has one more re-record on the second disc, and it might be another one from the Jerry years, if I'm not mistaken, but I didn't do my research.
Okay. I would have liked to have heard them redo either Higher Place or
Higher
Remember
Place.
Me, just to give those songs some new life.
Yeah.
They're great songs.
You'll have to look it up. I don't own it, but that's still something I need.
Also, it's surprising to me, Mike, that not even Trial by Fire, I don't think, ever came out on vinyl.
I think you're right.
I'm really surprised Steve Perry hasn't put that out on vinyl.
It's probably not worth working with those other guys to make it happen.
They don't need to.
Well, you might do it.
You can do that stuff separately. We'll find out about that.
Do you like lenticular cover art?
Not really, because if you break the case, yeah.
This one doesn't have that kind of case.
So yeah, 2011, not as much fanfare. This came and went, disappeared, which is a shame. Eclipse, not the greatest cover art, kind of disappears. I like what the band did, though. They were trying to be more experimental.
They were trying to be heavier. Neil Sean was trying to get more guitar.
Yeah. And I got to say, I cannot stand Kevin Shirley's production. I've never heard anything he's produced that I've liked. Everything he's ever produced sounds like they turned the snare drum off. And I've just never been a fan of, and I don't know why bands flock to him.
Maiden love him.
I know.
City of Hope is really the only song in here that I still remember. I don't remember the other songs.
I always liked Someone. To me, Someone sounds like it could have been on Raised on Radio. But when I used to do a late night or a Saturday night oldies, I say oldies show, we had, I had access to petty cash, and I don't know how many copies of, at the time, it was really cheap because Walmart always had them. That and Def Leppard Mirror Ball. I don't know how many copies of those I gave away, which is a lot of fun. I like that. So once again,
well, hold on 1 second. One second.
Oh,
we have one Japanese bonus track. One Japanese bonus track, which is a live version of Don't Stop Believing, or Believin', I should say. And I believe that's from Live in Manila, which didn't come out
2009.
Yet. Yeah. But there's Live in Manila right there. And this is the one that I own on, there's a Blu-ray.
Yeah, see, I only have that on DVD. Now that's a good show, and it's a really good set list.
Yes. Arnell Givener on lead vocals there.
In his home country. So cool. They did it there.
Again, at this point, Journey were very shy about playing new material live, and that was really starting to bug me, because what's the point of doing a new album and not playing the material live?
Exactly.
But there they are. They were functional.
And the only thing is that they weren't the only band that were just parading their back catalog.
No.
2011, Journey puts out a new album. 2011, Steve Perry, greatest hits too.
There it is.
He always had to have the last word, as it seemed. Sure seems like that. How many times have I said this happened? Quite a few. Every time they'd stick their heads out and do something. Now, so this, in no way, shape, or form was this ever going to compete with the first greatest hit, because you've got the best of the best on there. But I like the fact that the cover art is, they didn't do a completely new, or they didn't give it a different title. They acknowledge the fact that the first greatest hits exists. So this does do a pretty good job at collecting some of the the other material. Hold on a second. That's what that looks like. And let me see, what is this? I hate this. Complete Your Journey collection. Well, that doesn't complete.
That doesn't help.
No. So what does this have on it? So this has some of those minor top 40 singles like After the Fall, The Party's Over, Still They Ride, Suzanne, Walks Like a Lady. But it's got some good songs, Just the Same Way. It's got Little Girl. So that's the first time that, other than the box set, that Little Girl has appeared on a domestic single disc.
An easily affordable version.
Yeah. It's got When I Think of You from Trial by Fire. That wouldn't have been my choice to put on there, because I remember When You Love a Woman was a pretty decent sized hit from that album. But I also remember hearing If You Should Break Your Heart on the radio a lot, which is a good song.
Yeah.
It's a good mid-tempo song. Anyway, so this does a pretty good job. I don't think they have a greatest hits 3 in them, but this is a pretty good compilation of songs. And the next thing I have from them, Mike, is from 2019. And I don't think you had this, or at least you didn't at the time that we shot.
I don't think I still. I think I still don't. Oh,
You did go get it.
yes. I forgot this was 2019. Mine's.
Oh, no, not that.
Wait, what was yours? What did you show? Oh. It just looks similar. No, I need that still. I would like that very much.
I was surprised to find this at my local Sunrise. This is when they were doing Escape and Frontiers in their entirety. What? In their entirety.
Right.
Because we talked about this too.
Yeah.
So this comes with CDs and DVDs. Good performance. They had Steve Smith back on drums at this time. So it was the classic lineup except for Arnell, but Arnell does a good job. But yeah.
I would like to get that.
They don't, it's not complete. They didn't do Troubled Child, so you can't say you did all the Frontiers. Why would they leave a song? That drives me insane.
Politics, maybe? Who knows?
I hate it.
Somebody in the band hates that song. Who knows?
Now, there are two very cool encore tracks. Well, one's Love and Touch and Squeezing. The other one's La Raza del Sol.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Even though they did it after Frontiers, it really belonged with Escape. But anyway, I'm glad I got it. I don't think I've watched the DVD. I've listened to the album. And yeah, they were suffering from a bit of the white snake. Do I have this or do I not have this? Because they started to look a little samey. The next thing I've got is from 2022. We talked about this on an episode.
Yep. Oh, wait, no. What?
I'm just throwing Mike for a curveball. This is a very widely bootlegged radio broadcast. It's called Live in America.
That's not official.
It's been released under different names.
Okay.
This is from Renaissance Records, whatever. I bought this. Let me see. When does this actually hail from? I believe that even though it looks like a Departure era release, it's not. It's from the Evolution tour, I think. It's just
the Rainbow Effect looks like Departure.
Let's see now. But May 9th, 1979, recorded at the Rainbow Music Hall in Denver, Colorado. And I hate this. You ever read these bootleg liner notes and they're wrong?
Oh, all the time. They're never right.
This would be the last tour with founding member Greg Rawling. No, it wasn't. He did the Departure tour. Idiots. There's only one reason I bought this, is because this is the Steve Perry era, and yet they do on a Saturday night. She Makes Me Feel All Right, and Next. So they were still doing some of the early material. Now, it doesn't have Of a Lifetime or Kohoutek on here, but it was cheap, so I'm like, yeah, why not? And yes, what Mike was starting to hold up, I'm throwing it right off. So far, the most recent studio album. We did an in-depth look at this.
It's good.
I feel like I'm doing most of the talking, Mike. I'm sorry. I'm hogging your show here.
Well, that's okay. As you remember, I was holding off to get the Japanese version because it has the bonus track, Hard to Let It Go. It's a John Cain ballad. The album doesn't need another ballad.
Nope.
It's fine without, but mine is still sealed. My domestic is still sealed. I can't remember exactly why I bought the domestic and the Japanese.
Did you already have an order, maybe?
Probably just for your show.
Maybe.
So it's a good thing they're getting shown again.
Yeah. Well, sadly, they're probably doing none of these songs live. I don't know. It may be one of them. It's not a bad album. It's really not a bad album at all. I mean,
I have the live album to come out. We can take a look at that in a bit. But the nice thing about my version of Freedom is it has a nicer booklet with more pictures. There's John Cain there. But there's one picture in here that I know for sure you don't have, which was the then current drummer, Narada Michael Walden, and Neil Schon in the studio. Yeah, because, again, lineup changes galore. We had Narada in on drums, and then we have Dean Castronovo also in on drums. Then we have Randy Jackson on bass. And then Randy Jackson hurt his back. And
I remember that whole thing about having two drummers. And I remember thinking, guys, we're not stupid. That's not going to work.
No.
You're not the Grateful Dead. You're not the Allman Brothers. You don't need two drummers.
And surely enough, Narada went back to his day job producing hits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said at the time, like those guys are not road dogs.
No.
They're studio cats.
Exactly.
So
Randy Jackson hurt his back before he even hit the road, really, you know, and it's
yeah.
like it was never going to happen. I felt kind of ripped off a bit by all the publicity generated by those two names. And I think I told you at the time, these guys aren't going to be on the road. I'm pretty sure we talked about that at the
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
sure enough, by the time we get to the live album, it's Dean on drums.
Yeah, that's one I didn't even bother with.
A nice beauty shot of John Cain there. But it's interesting how in the back cover, here's the three guys. We're back to the three guys thing. On the live album, we have Separate Ways, Only the Young, guitar interlude, Stone in Love, always good to see that. Be Good to Yourself, Just the Same Way, Lights, Still They Ride, Escape, La Doo Da, piano interlude. Oh boy, we need that. Who's Crying Now, another guitar interlude, Wheel in the Sky, Ask the Lonely, Open Arms, Love and Touch and Squeezing, Faithfully, Any Way You Want It, and Don't Stop Believing, with a distinct lack of anything from
the album they were supposedly promoting,
or even from past the 80s. They're touring in 2022, 2023 with nothing that was, younger than 40 years, basically. Almost.
I can understand to a point they're playing Lollapalooza. It's not their own show. So they're probably playing in front of people that would not necessarily go to see them by themselves. But I have the feeling that that's just a typical set list for them.
From what I've read, I go to setlist.com and whatnot. I think that was pretty typical of the set. I think these guys are very focused on their nostalgia, their legacy. It was one reason why they didn't want Jeff Scott Soto. They wanted somebody who could sing the original Journey songs in the original key that they were written in. And that's what happened. They didn't want to down tune anything. They didn't want to sing a melody that was slightly different from the recorded version in order to accommodate a lead singer. And that's what they got with Arnell. And that's what they're doing on tour. They're playing the hits, the ones that the ticket buyers are apparently asking to hear. And that's as good a place as any to leave it, because I think that's the last Journey release to this date, aside from the one that we showed up earlier.
Something that we showed up. Now I'm still a little bit perturbed that I got a copyright strike on this video for showing clips recorded on my phone from my TV that sounded like crap, and I still got a copyright strike. You greedy sons of sons. Come on.
This is essentially a Journey album. We count this as a Journey album.
I file it under Journey. This is amazingly good.
Yes.
This is amazingly good. I would have loved to see a show like this. This has oodles and oodles of early material. Like, I know we counted at the time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 songs from the first 3 albums. That's 100% more songs from those first 3 albums than I think maybe in 2005 they had tried to do like a through the years performance, and they would throw in and it didn't go over well.
Yeah.
The last tour they did without Jerry. But I mean, Dean Castro, this was Dean's comeback to the band, after he got himself straightened around. He sounds amazing. The acoustic version, like when they go to Trial by Fire, it's so good.
Yes, they do a little bit of Trial by Fire in here. They do 2 Santana songs with Marco Mendoza singing lead vocals.
That guy goes nuts.
Yeah.
He also
every single person on this stage, except for only one, has been on stage with Journey. The one being this John Varn guy, kind of a sideman. Everybody else had been on stage with Journey.
So great to have Greg Raleigh on stage, singing. Even though after this came out, there was some static in terms of this wasn't supposed to come out, or
You know what? I'm so sick of the social media stuff associated with Journey.
I know. I don't click on it anymore. It's just it's pointless. It takes away from the great music, the legacy of music. But I still recommend that if you can find it, if it's still available, that Journey Through Time. If you love the early Journey stuff, here are some modern versions of it. They're on a very, very small stage, and the band is just cooking.
Yeah.
And Neil Sean, for once, looks happy to be there.
Yes. Well, he was.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to leave it on the present day, which is the 40th anniversary edition of Frontiers.
That's cool.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful reissue. You already showed off the CD sized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Steve Smith to me looks terrified, in my opinion. He's terrified.
Yep.
But the reason that this was a big deal was because it came with a brand new version of the Only the Young 7-inch single with the, I guess, highly in demand Stranger Things remix of
Separate Ways. Yeah.
Separate Ways. Yeah. Only the Young and Separate Ways, both remixed. I will not play this very often.
No.
It's not the, oh boy, Steve Perry was involved with the remixes. Hooray. They're not good remixes. I'm sorry. They're not. So for completists only, for fans of Stranger Things only, for people who want the latest Journey release.
And I'm all of those things, but I don't have it. So
No. And
I don't feel any pangs to go get it. So there you go.
there you go.
But
However, having said that, the other version of Frontiers that I showed off earlier with the CD bonus tracks, that's a great version to go for. I would recommend that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that Only the Young and Ask the Lonely were left off of that, because it seems to me that I like, and a lot of people don't like the songs they replaced them with, but I like them both. I like the fact that it's all there, right?
Right.
Except that in all of these reissues, again, that 1990s theme from the Tron soundtrack, that's never been,
Well, I
there
suppose
are very few loose ends. I'll say that. There's very few loose ends where they didn't, do it right.
I suppose I'm going to be looking for that Tron soundtrack now on
You're
Discogs. And that is a great way to end the show, because there's always a common theme here, which is when I work with Tim, I end up having to buy something. So that'll be the one.
I really wasn't actively trying this time.
No, you just told me about a gap in my collection. And, I think that's a pretty decent Journey collection. I do want that Live in Japan album that you have.
need in the beginning on CD.
Well, I'll be satisfied with my cassette for now because it sounds great. And again, that's this guy who sent it to me. And it does sound great. And I highly recommend In the Beginning. Well, thank you, Tim. This has been an hour and a half. I've been in organizing and everything. I've been at this for about 3 hours this morning, and I think I'm going to go get some breakfast.
Sounds good. All right.
Well, thank you, Tim.
Thanks for having me on, Mike. This is great.
Check out the book, Down for the Count, the Y&T album review by Tim Durling. Check it out on Amazon. And you can also get his first book, Unspooled, an adventure in wherever I put my 8-track copy of Departure, that he also provided for me. So thank you once again, Tim. And we will see you on the flip side. We'll see you on some other show, some other time. I am certain of it. Take care, everybody.